Welcome to Veterans Voice, where us veterans talk about our post-military experiences, career paths, and offer insights to others, especially those leading the armed forces. It's not all project management, close protection. Feel free to say hi in the comments, and if there are any questions, we'll do our best to answer. My guest this week is another Army veteran who has worked her way through some interesting roles, to say the least, and here she is to tell us about them. Welcome, Sara Smalley.
Thank you, Matt. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, great to see you. Now, you, like me, have got one of those interesting surnames that can be misconstrued and sort of pulled out of all obscurity. So I've had Pybus and Pybus and Pybus and Phoebus, and you've had a few, no doubt.
Well, ironically that we're talking about this because you just called me Smalley, and actually it's Smalley, but I've also had Smelly, which is charming.
Well, I mean, you are a Pongo, so but
harsh.
Well, you see, it's a bit of banter. We do. I've got to give it because I took it twice running from Peter Mansfield. So I've got to give some back.
We don't all have access to clean showers and hot running water.
I think we lost you a little bit there. We don't all what? Oh, I lost you.
I said we don't always have access to hot running water and comfy beds like the RAF.
Right, and tea and biscuits and stuff like that. I feel my heart bleeds. Now, the other interesting thing about you, feat of medieval and modern language, so you can swear in Old English. So that must be an interesting role that you had.
It was, and I mean, kind of one of a variety of roles that I've done since leaving the army. So this was actually supporting students at the University of Oxford, specifically those that were on their year abroad. So languages students who ordinarily spend their third year abroad in their chosen country, and my role was to support them with any sort of emergencies or queries and help them set up work experience opportunities, placements, that sort of thing.
So interesting. And you speak modern languages. You speak.
Yeah. So my degree is French. I did 3 languages at A level. I've got a real love of languages. These days it's a little bit reserved to 2 beers and a packet of crisps, please, but a real interest in different cultures and different countries.
Yeah, so tourist French, and sort of I spent a couple of years in Germany, and so a couple of years in Korea and a few months in Germany. So tourist German and that sort of thing. But I think with having a degree in it, you're probably a little bit more proficient than you let. So just let's have a quick chat for the benefit of people watching now and actually tuning in retrospectively. Just a little bit about your service and how you transitioned out and how that went, and a few insights.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did 6 years with the Royal Artillery. Finished up as a captain, and my last role was actually at the APC in Glasgow, and I was involved in supporting the project team that rolled out JPA. I guess my motivations for leaving were around wanting some stability, wanting some more control over where my career was going, and around career progression. I sort of, you join and you're looking for variety, and the idea of moving jobs every 18 months, 2 years was really attractive in my early 20s. But by my late 20s, I was thinking you sort of get to the end of a role and you think, oh, if I just had another year or another 2, then I could really make a difference here. I could have the impact that I want to have. So I wanted to kind of have more control over my career, and a bit more of a say in where I lived in the world.
But you ended up marrying somebody in the military anyway. So did you move around with that?
Yes, yeah. So I had about 18 months of that stability, and then I was sort of sucked right back in to the military circles, and we then moved as a result of my husband's career. That, as tends to be the way, it's not always the case. Plenty of partnerships these days can kind of absorb two careers working alongside each other, but for us, we made the decision that he would have the lead career, if you like, and mine would take more of a back step, and that became more important when we had children.
Yeah, we've had the same scenario. We've had the one takes the lead and the other one supports it, and it can be either way around. It doesn't have to be male female.
No, absolutely.
Reversal, absolutely. But
Yeah.
but that led you. That's not in itself a bad thing. If you're moving around within work, you actually pick up some quite unique skills in dealing with people, different types of people. There's a comment here from Ron. So obviously you're aware. You know Ron from Royal Agricultural College.
So I guess we know each other indirectly. There's an indirect connection. I wasn't actually a student at what is now the RAU, the Royal Agricultural University, but I worked there for a time, and I know Ron is a keen supporter and is heavily involved in the community there.
And a college that I would have loved to have gone had I known it existed. When
really,
it would have come in handy, because we've got a small hole up in Scotland that would require some agricultural knowledge. So when you left the armed forces, what made you choose the career path you did? What decisions were there? Because as we said before, it's not all project management and close protection.
Yeah. On reflection, I'm not entirely sure I know why I went the way I went. It was really about intuition and gut feeling. And I reflect now that I didn't have a kind of particular decision framework. I had some sort of conscience around my motivations. I wanted to do something that was sort of meaningful. But on the day that I left, I didn't have a job. And that threw me a little bit. I'd done quite a lot of preparation, but turns out it wasn't necessarily as focused or deliberate as I hoped it would be. So the timing was a bit out of kilter. But I sat tight for a couple of weeks, and eventually I had two job offers. One was a much more, if you like, sort of corporate opportunity, helping project manage. Surprise, surprise. Specific construction projects, and on that front, the draw was quite an impressive salary, quite an impressive kind of remuneration package, but there was something wasn't quite right. It really didn't sort of get me going. On the other hand, there was an offer from a charity called the Prince's Scottish Youth Business Trust, which is now sort of part of the Prince's Trust, and they did great work. Still do great work as part of the Prince's Trust in supporting young entrepreneurs with business startup and mentoring advice. And I thought, that's something that I feel I could really be a part of. So it was a sort of link job between the regional managers in and around Scotland, who were the direct source of support for the young people looking for support, and the head office team. So it was a great opportunity to travel around Scotland, to use the leadership and management skills that I developed in the military, and to sort of learn about the charitable sector and all the good work that people get involved within those organisations.
And some great work, and you've had some really good roles with organisations. And I'm getting that you're somebody that likes to help people and coach people and guide people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a definite theme, in the 9 houses, 11 years, 4 countries, in the ridiculous amount of change and turnover that we've experienced as a family, as a result of military postings. I've gathered experiences that perhaps you wouldn't necessarily get if you'd stood still, if you hadn't moved house. So really sort of putting a more positive filter on what comes from change and relocation, from sort of starting my own business when we lived in France, to some time spent teaching, thinking I might explore teaching languages, to then moving into a role that's a bit more closely aligned with the work I do now, and that was helping to set up a pilot program at the University of Oxford Career Service, supporting spouses of and partners of academics who want to establish their career in and around Oxford and the UK. And the the sense of fulfillment that comes from seeing people kind of get clear on what it is they want from their careers, working out a plan of how they're getting there and achieving their goals, their desired outcomes is massively rewarding.
And it's really important to make the point that military spouses can have a career as well. It's just, as you say, it's just finding that opportunity and moving on. So just winding back a little bit, I'm going to come back to some of your works in a bit, but just winding back a little bit. If you were to do transition again, what advice would you give yourself?
Great question. I would say get to know yourself. Don't be afraid to ask yourself the really difficult questions. What's important. I think all too often, and understandably, when you're within the military, you're given to a degree your values and standards. But in leaving the military, there's a real opportunity to explore what you value as an individual, what's important to you, having clarity around that before you then start to consider what direction you want your career to go in. That can be hugely helpful in making your sort of more practical stages, the networking, the CV building, preparing for interview, making those elements much more focused and considered if you've got that initial clarity about who you are, who will you be when you're not in the military.
And it's really important to actually think through that and spend some time doing that, not just wait until 3 months out. Is spend a good while thinking about that, because you spend a lot of time in your second career. So you might as well do something you want to do. I'd love to know
absolutely.
who LinkedIn user is. I can't see. That may be that I'm not a first level connection of this person, but say who you are in the comments, please. And hello to Dan as well, a future veteran's voice, we hope.
Hi, Dan.
So Dan's been here, 100% attendance rate. So thank you very much, Dan, for your attendance. So that would be great to see him moving forward.
Chris Kirk.
Yes, Chris. Yeah, about time he showed up. So just looking at the transferable skills that you picked up in the military, I'm guessing that they were very, very beneficial moving through the roles you've had. And could you take us through a few of those at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a kind of standout one is being flexible, adaptable, looking for the positives in scenarios, looking for the opportunities. And actually, I'd probably underestimated what the moving gave me, what skills that developed, the ability to build connections, build rapport quickly, to sort of establish yourself in a particular area, to make connections. There's undoubtedly a whole wealth of skills and attributes that you can transfer beyond your roles in the military.
Absolutely, and transfer overseas as well, because there's a particular role that I'm quite interested in, and that's the role that you pulled off in Bermuda. How did you pull that one off?
I'd say right place, right time, but I think actually the experience that had gone before arguably set me up for that role.
Sorry to interrupt, would you like to just enlighten everybody as to what that role was?
So I was the executive officer to His Excellency the Governor of Bermuda, which was a bridge job between the FCO as it was then and the government of Bermuda. In that role, I sort of helped support the governor in particular areas of work and, sort of event organising, dealing with diplomatic clearances. It was really varied and interesting, and drew on, ironically, for the first time since I graduated, sort of some of the skills and knowledge from my politics degree, which, arguably lay dormant for about 20 years.
French
And
politics, yes, French and politics in the same degree.
yeah, and of course, drew on my military experience. It was fascinating to sort of work that closely with the governor and to get a bit of an insight into the art of diplomacy, and how those relationships are managed and built. It was really fascinating, and a beautiful location. Not going to argue with that.
Absolutely, yeah, you can't agree with that. I will just say to anybody watching, if you want to ask any questions, then fire them in, and we'll do our best to answer them. If we can't, we'll go away and scurry away and look it up and get back to you. But the other interesting role you've had, and I want to know whether you sang, but you worked with the Military Wives Choir.
Yeah. So I was one of the, I guess, sort of early trustees for the Military Wives Choir Foundation. How did that opportunity arise? So actually, in a move to Germany, I was really interested in setting up a choir. I'd seen, all the great things that came out of the choirs in Catterick and Chivenna, and I thought I could, I love music, I love singing. How would I get this off the ground? And I was sort of married up with somebody who had a shared interest in Gütersloh, and we set the choir up. And as a result of that work, more opportunities opened up, and I was asked if I wanted to become a trustee, and was delighted to accept. It's, even now, it's such a powerful organisation that brings people across the military community together. And I guess since I was involved, it's become, and I guess thanks to the work of people like Gareth Malone, the advantages, almost the sort of therapeutic impact of singing has become, well known. So that was a great thing to be involved with. Not singing at the moment, sadly.
So if we were to buy an early record from the Military Wives Choir, are you on it?
No, I'm not. But I was in the second documentary when they prepared to go to the proms, and I sang at the proms as part of the Warhorse prom, which was such an incredible experience and terrifying at the same time. But yeah, it was a great thing to do.
Terrifying if I'd have sung. I can't string a song together. Well, I tried on the karaoke bus in Korea, but that didn't work very well. So just moving on a bit, all of these skills that you've developed through the military and in the various roles you've had have really led you to what you do now, which is coaching.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess when the military wheels stopped spinning and I had an opportunity to sort of reflect on what I wanted to do next with my career, I worked with a coach. And it was such a powerful and brilliant experience. And we went through the steps of exploring, what was important to me at the time, what strengths I felt I had, where were my interests, my passions, and really through that process, drew out this, interest and passion that I have for seeing people develop, seeing people grow, and that took me along the path of exploring coaching and coach training. So I took on the coach training, and that's sort of worked me towards developing my business, which is career and leadership coaching. Within, whilst that's still relatively broad, I guess the special interest groups that I enjoy working with are obviously the military community, and veterans, and then also supporting mothers via careering into motherhood who are looking to combine, their career ambitions alongside motherhood.
So, as if by magic, the caption appeared.
Oh, look
so,
at that.
Yeah, that's where we were going to swing
You're
on
slick,
to.
man.
Oh, yeah, Tom Slick. But yes, we were going to segue neatly into that anyway. But you managed to do my job for me, so you have to fill in for me if ever I go on holiday. So yes, careering into motherhood. Yeah, a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I mean, as I said, the kind of client base that I coach is quite broad and consists of people who are looking to make a change in their careers, looking for promotion, are dissatisfied and want to work out how they kind of step away or maybe move in a different direction. But also, sorry about that.
It's never worked with children and animals. We have
Yeah.
both.
Nothing to hear here. So whilst the sort of client base can be quite broad, I have a particular interest in supporting mums who have perhaps taken an extended break from their career for maternity reasons or long-term caring motivations, who are looking to get back into the workplace. Arguably we have massive fallout of well-trained, qualified, experienced women that at some stage in their career can be forced to leave the workplace for whatever reason, and so much can be done to try and mitigate that and to ensure that they have those opportunities.
And before I take the caption off, you are not Jane Johnson. If anybody's just joining us, so Jane is the person that heads up that, and you help Jane.
Absolutely, yeah. So Jane's been the driving force, and she's the founder of Careering into Motherhood, which is a platform of, I'm going to say, 40 plus coaches who specialize in supporting women through coaching.
Mm-hmm. And that leads us on to another thing you do with Resilient Leaders Elements.
Yeah.
So you're not. I'm surprised you've actually got time to spend talking to me with all the stuff you're doing.
So where does Resilient Leaders Elements come into play? I guess that's the leadership part of my coaching. I've always been fascinated with leadership. I mean, I guess the military background feeds into that, and also kind of involvement in sports teams, and just a general fascination in why people might follow person A but person B doesn't get such a good response. And as I was I guess really more as a way of sort of developing my own thoughts around leadership, I took part in a Resilient Leaders Elements course, which is a fantastic program which explores leadership using a particular framework. And now I'm able to use that in the coaching work that I do when I'm working with clients who are specifically interested in developing their leadership skills.
Yeah, so there's plenty of stuff there, and if they want to contact you, then the best way to do is slip onto your LinkedIn profile and message you from there. So we've got a couple of things that we're going to do towards the end of this, but I ask everybody here, what is your veteran's voice message to military transitioners? What wisdom would you impart?
So I guess this is something that comes out quite a lot when I'm talking to my sort of serving and veteran clients, and it's encouraging them to get to know yourself. Like, who are you when you fold up that uniform for the last time? What's important to you? What are you absolutely not going to compromise on with regards to work, location? What might you compromise on? Getting really clear on that and having those parameters for decision making around your next step in work and life. That just makes life so much easier in my experience.
And don't wait until a few days or a few months out. Use the time wisely.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Yeah. That sort of continued development of self-awareness and learning to be in touch with what your needs are in the moment. These are skills that can be developed over a period of time, and that, yeah, like you say, you don't need to wait until the last 6, 9, 12 months to start asking yourself these questions.
Yeah, that's very, very important stuff. Thank you very much for that. So we've got a little bit of a job to do here. So I hope everybody enjoyed what we've spoken about, and I found it interesting. And don't hesitate to drop Sarah or myself a message if you want to talk further. And if you like it, oh hi Adam. If you like what you've seen, then stick us a like on and just let us know that you enjoyed it, and tell your mates. And if you don't like what you've seen, then stick a like on it anyway, but just don't tell your mates. I hope I hope everyone's got a little bit of wisdom out here. But there's one thing we need to do, because the country is in a little bit of turmoil at the moment. So we thought we'd propose a toast. And what did you choose?
I'm a bit embarrassed to admit it, actually. Harvey's Bristol Cream.
Harvey's Bristol. She did like a sherry tipple. I thought I'd go with Spitfire, the bottle of Britain. So we are going to toast the memory of the fantastic Queen Elizabeth II, and we are going to toast the health of the incoming King Charles III. So, without further ado, if you'd like to join us, Queen Elizabeth II, King Charles III.
King Charles III.
And all the best to everybody. So before we finish, thank you very much, Sarah. Really enjoyed having you on as a guest, and really enjoyed it, and fantastic stuff. And anybody wants any questions, please fire them back. And next week we'll be on half an hour later with yet another Army veteran. I can't get rid of these Army types.
There's so many of us.
Again, there's so many of you. So 4 Army types in a row, 4 Army voices in a row. But you're all welcome. Fantastic. So thank you very much, Sarah, and
thanks for having me,
everybody. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.